Always choose faith over fear. Always choose faith over fear. You win every time. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What Drives You. I am one of your co-hosts, Stan Windhorn, and with me, as always, my good buddy and co-host, who's looking very dapper today. I might just want to add that, Carl Bauer. Carl, say hi to everybody.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining. We've got a special guest today, an old friend of mine. I grew up with her at church, and she is going to teach us a lot today about yoga, probably health, surviving cancer, parenting, all kind of stuff. So please welcome Karen Cutrona. Hey Karen.
Hi. Wow, it's so good to see you, Carl. And Stan, thank you both for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, we're
So
excited about this. Carl was telling me a little bit about you. You guys go way back.
We
Known each
do
other for
go
many
way.
years.
Well, I always say, and maybe you feel this way, Carl. I've been to church 8 days a week, and I knew Carl's mom and dad. Um, Carl knows my mom and dad. My mom is still with us. My dad has passed on. But yeah, we knew where each other's families sat in church. You know how you always kind of pick that same area, the same pew. And yeah, I lived there at a certain church in Glenview. So yeah,
yeah,
Carl and I go way back.
my earliest memory of you guys, and I don't know when you started because my dad was one of the charter members, so I was always there, right, from a
Yeah,
baby on
yeah,
up. So my earliest memory though was you guys came in because we were kind of hodgepodgey dressed, like we're boys, like coming out of the playground, but you guys came in and this three perfectly dressed, beautiful little girls, and just kind of just so organized, so disciplined, so polite, so quiet. And I was like, who are these people? And then your younger sister ended up being in my grade. Where we didn't cross over, Stan, was I went to we were kind of on this weird boundary of schools. So I went to the Glenview schools and Glenbrook South. I think you guys all went to the main township
yeah,
stuff. So
exactly.
but at
Yeah.
church, there was just this mix of the different school districts and all that. So it was just really fun.
And I think what you noticed, because we started attending Glenview when I was in second or third grade, having come from an all Italian speaking, non Catholic Bible preaching church in Chicago. So when the Cutronas walk into this church, we're all dark featured, and all of you are Vikings and tall and light colored. And there we are. But my mom was definitely known for her spaghetti and meatball after church suppers. So
Yes.
yeah, it was great. Just a great foundation. And I will tell you, I'll just launch right in. I will tell you how grateful I am. While growing up, that was a bit of a challenge for me to be in church all the time. Like, I just wanted to have a social life. I wanted to get out. I was a high school cheerleader. I wanted to be at the football games and the parties. And, my parents really funneled my all of us, the four kids, our social activities as best as they could through youth group programs at church and all of that. And to their credit, as much as I was the oldest daughter and thought, I can't be at church all the time. Can I at least babysit on a Sunday or work? And back in the day, Stan will remember this, I get time and a half if you work on Sunday. My dad,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
nobody's working on Sunday. So with the foundation of going to church and just kind of never choosing, I didn't have a choice. That was what the family did. We went on Wednesdays, we went Sunday nights, Sunday mornings. If there was an activity on the Saturday, we were there for whatever. um, I can say that I never really had to choose my religion, nor did I really have to think about my spirituality. It was just kind of, suck on the water. I was
Yeah.
just plowed down there.
Yeah.
But I will say that in all of my PhD in Sunday school, I have definitely retained so many Bible verses that I memorized. I used to get badges and win a free week at camp for those. And when you hide that in your heart, truly, it does come back to support you when you need it and later on in life. And surely I have maintained, a family life. I'm single currently in my life right now, but in the time of raising our family, um, we've always maintained a sense of faith and a tradition of going to church and wanted my children to be reared in that. And you know that it works for you when life throws you some unexpected curves. And one unexpected curve for me, pregnant with my third child, healthy pregnancy, had my two girls already, excited to learn that I was expecting a baby boy.
Hmm.
Come to find out, and it was the first ultrasound that I had ever had. I was young, I wasn't even 30 years old yet. Um, Come to find out, after his healthy 9-pound delivery, as I was leaving to take him home, he got a little prick in the ankle for a vitamin K shot. When he cried, he turned a little blue. And the nurse just took him and said, let me just check. I'm sure everything's fine. Let's see what's going on. The next thing you know, I am following an ambulance to UNC Hospital's pediatric cardiology unit.
My goodness.
And one step to the next, you get invited into this room where there's just a table with a box of Kleenex
Hmm.
and 12 doctors. And the first thing the doctor said, "I'm sorry." And it was like Charlie Brown listening to his mom on the phone. I absorbed the information, but I knew right in that moment while they were talking that, God, you're going to get me through this. And thank you. I just knew enough to say thank you. Thank you
Hmm.
for whatever this is. I know this is a part of your plan. And then ensued the discovery that Chad, our third son, had hypoplastic left heart syndrome in such a severe way that they had not yet, at least at UNC hospitals, with some of the Duke doctors also brought in to this conversation, they had not yet seen a beating hypoplastic left heart so severe as Chad's. And
Wow.
often, if something's wrong with your baby's heart, you don't even get past the first term of a pregnancy. For my son, he was almost 10 days overdue. He was just hanging in there, living. And I will say, years, advanced since then, I have worked through that grief. It has become this experience of I was chosen. I was chosen to be Chad's mom. He was chosen for a 5-day lifespan with our family, which was incredible that he could oxygenate his own bloodstream even for 5 days
Hmm.
without help, without assistance. We did see the echogram. We did see all the issues. We did ask all the right questions and got the full support of the staff, all the specialists who said, really, for him to have lived a full day without intervention, the aortic valve, the only working part that they could have possibly done something with, was already pretty atrophied.
Hmm.
So the days that we got to have him were very sacred. I mean, I say it like this: the gates of heaven, this will this will come off funny. The gates of heaven open at birth and death, right? That's how I feel. There's these very sacred moments that if you get to usher a loved one over the threshold, um, in death, or if you get to witness, and I've had that great privilege with my daughter to witness my first grandson's birth. I was right there with her. It's so sacred. it's heaven on earth when you have faith to know that this isn't the end. This is just the beginning of a new beginning, the beginning of life at birth, and a new beginning when you cross over from this skin and bones into the next. So that ensued, just a life of wow, I'm I was healthy. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't ever do any of those things. Church going girl, how can this happen to me when, others who could care less and don't even care to have a pregnancy and
That
possibly
must have really
consider
created a lot of questions
it.
for you.
It
Like,
sure did. Yeah,
why me?
why
Yeah.
me? So
And
with the
that is a
why
lot to
me,
go through.
it's a lot to go through. And the why me became thank you that it was me. And, life went on, and I ended up having a very blessed next pregnancy and a boy. And I wouldn't have him if his brother had stayed with us. So there's the
Yeah.
blessings of, those kinds of things. Much later, and we bring it fast forward to Karen doesn't have those long plaits of hair that I've had all of my life. um, Thanks to not by choice, but by chemo. I've been through another episode where, you go through life and you hear the phrases, well, at least it's not cancer, or let's get rid of it. It's like a cancer in our workplace, or just some of the terms that where cancer gets thrown around as the worst thing ever. And I thought,
Was
well,
this cancer something that you experienced recently?
yeah, I just finished. In fact, today was immunotherapy number 7 of 9, and I will be completely done with all of my treatment. Chemotherapy ended in February. I had surgery in May, and this immunotherapy process is kind of like the follow up on my protocol for my type of cancer. So, yes, this occurred. I got the diagnosis. I always have a physical around my birthday, so I know it began May 12th, 2025, where I said, I told my doctor I noticed a lump. It was right at the edge by my rib cage. And even my doctor said, I don't think you have anything to worry about, but let's send you through some diagnostics.
Mm.
Everything else looks great. You've all of your other mammograms have been clear. Went through diagnostics and just kept getting continual bad news. Yes, it looks like it's a tumor. Let's go for the biopsy. Yes, it's cancer. Let's test the cancer to see if it tests positive for different hormonal levels. And you end up with triple negative, which is the most aggressive form. And I tested positive then for the BRCA2 gene, which ensued a whole testing pattern with all the females in my family. This is not news in our history. My dad's side of the family, he has 5 sisters, he's one of 8. 4 of the 5 sisters had breast cancer. Two of
Oh,
them passed
geez.
away before they were in their 40s. So no one ever thought to look at the dad side with me at this age anyway. I think that younger women coming through with their physicals and things, there's a little bit more of a comprehensive, let's do a blood test, let's do some genetic, it's all a quick easy blood test to know if you carry the gene. Sure enough, I carried this gene that's up to an 80% likelihood that you could get breast cancer. Well, lucky me, 100%. So my daughters tested, my sisters tested. I have one niece, and out of the lineup, we got some positive results. So they at least get to do preemptively, they can make decisions
Yeah.
preemptively to, ward it off. But yeah, I
It
leaned
sounds
in.
like your diagnosis may have been I don't want to say a blessing, but at least a blessing to others in the family that, man, this is something we all need to
Yes.
get checked on. And
Oh my goodness. Yes, it lit up the system. In fact, I will say my oldest daughter, she's about to turn 41 next week, but all of last year, she, in tandem with me, by bypassing chemo, she had to still go through all the tests to be sure there was no cancer. Since she tested positive for the gene, she has her family already set. Her boys are at good ages now that they could understand what was going on with mom. Her and her husband decided that she would preemptively go through some surgical procedures, a double mastectomy, full hysterectomy to avoid
Hmm.
having cancer rear its head in her way. And I was really proud of her, a very courageous decision. I had a choice. I could choose not to take treatment or go and my own independent path from what Western medicine offered as a protocol. And I listened to all of what this protocol would be for me, basically 16 rounds of chemo, which is pretty intense,
mm,
potentially radiation afterwards if I didn't get a pathological clear result after surgery. And I'm thankful to say I did get pathologically cleared after surgery. So I chose to bypass radiation, which all my doctors supported. And now I'm just on this immunotherapy phase. Keytruda is kind of the common word. A lot of people have, you can skip through the woods because you're taking Keytruda with cancer.
Yeah.
But it's just the follow up to just kind of ping my immune system to be hyper vigilant for any cells that might be misbehaving. But I will say, we'll go into the grandparenting piece. What I loved about this experience, there's a lot of things that I really did love. There's a lot of things, no, I did not love. I had all the feelings. I'm no superhuman. I was very grieved. I was very sick. And I had all the questions too. But my older two grandchildren live nearby, and I have seven grandchildren. And the older two are just now 10 and almost 7. So a year ago, 9 and 6. And I was trying to explain to them without making them scared. The younger ones didn't really have much awareness of what's going on. They all call me Coco. Um, and I said, Coco's got cancer. And Hudson, my oldest, said, I said, do you know anything about it? He goes, it means you'll lose your hair. I go, yeah, it does mean I'm going to lose my hair. And he said, but you'll be okay, right? And I said, you know what? I will be okay. And I really could say I knew I would be okay.
mm,
When your baby son dies in your arms and you watch him peacefully transition and you know he's going to be okay,
yeah.
there's something about knowing no matter what, no matter which side of the threshold I landed on, I could assuredly say and know with peace in my heart I was going to be okay. And he said, well, what do we do with cancer? I go, well, Coco's got some cells that are not doing their jobs right now. They're partying, they're having a good time. And I said, what happens when you party? He goes, well, I eat cake. And I, like, and yeah, I want to stay up late or I want to be with my friends or we go to wherever, some park or something. I go, no, that's what they're doing. I said, but they've got important jobs. So we have to figure out how to get them back in line doing their jobs. And he said, well, why don't we just have a bigger party? I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, if we have a bigger party, they'll come back to do their jobs at work. We'll have a work party. I go, good idea. And he said, we'll just have cake. We'll just keep having cake. So this became the theme, cake
Uh,
and cancer. And after my treatments, when I had the chance, not every chance, because I was immunocompromised, I shouldn't be around the young kids in school with all their germs, but when I could, I'd be with my grandchildren that are local. 5 of them are local here, and
Yeah.
it would be cake and cancer. We're partying it right. We're getting those cells to behave with a bigger party than the ones that they're going to. So,
Hey,
I'm a
Karen,
firm believer that you can have, when this kind of thing happens, obviously nobody wants this,
right,
but trying to have as positive of an attitude towards it as you can only help.
a hundred percent.
Where I
A
do
hun-
think if you have a negative attitude about it, then that can hurt.
I,
yeah,
I have learned to just lean in. I just was like head down, lean in, go. And, every time, this is something new for me, every time I got chemo, they have to do a little blood work, check my levels on different things, and they make the chemo your cocktail. They formulate it for you. And I kept saying, full on. There were times where I was pretty sick, and we can back off a little bit, and I just kept saying, I'm here, I'm in it, let's do it. It's backing off isn't going to make me feel any better. I want to know that I can take the full potent amount, and let's do it. And I will say, I'll weave in yoga. I have made a career out of yoga teaching, training. At a point in my career, I owned a yoga studio in Florida. I never stopped moving. I never stopped. If at the very least I just got in down dog and just, you know, took a few deep breaths if I was really feeling sick. Moving and breathing are medicinal. They're healing to your mind, body, and spirit in so many ways. And I can stand firmly in that space for any who are going through some really, significant issues with cancer, chemotherapy. I know how it feels.
I think
I-
even for
yep.
healthy people, it's a good idea to
Well,
keep
and then
moving
for healthy
and
people, so if
breathing,
you're
all that.
not compromised, you can just elevate your life force within you. So
Karen,
good
can
stuff.
you can I jump back to because this always intrigues me when we have guests on who overcome, in your case, not one thing, not two, multiple life hurdles, um, the loss of a child and cancer and all these things that you've overcome. What intrigues me, and then we'll get back to yoga in a second because that also intrigues me, but
Okay.
how you didn't give up, right? So we all go through crap. We all go through trials and
Yeah.
tribulations, but many of us just choose to sit on the couch and just um, give up or not try, or as Stan's kind of pointed out, just have a bad attitude about it or negative attitude, or this shouldn't happen to me. This isn't fair. I'm a victim. So what at that first one when you're holding your baby, which just chokes me up even thinking about it, but then the cancer and all these things, what you've shared a little bit about faith, but is it just that's the part of the brain that just boggles my mind, that half of us go on and keep moving forward and then the other half just give up and quit. So what about it to you, or what in your spirit or heart keeps you going?
I think there's never been a time in my life where I didn't feel like I could talk to God, even as a little girl. So I, if I ask a question, wait for the answer. I've always been told that. Ask a question, wait for the answer. And and it's the same way that I feel about like prayer, or some people will feel it's meditation. It's not a one-sided thing. If and my prayers were very much full of lots of questions. So let me wait for the answer. And the answer was always not like this is why this happens, Karen, or anything like that. It's just the answer gives you more faith. Just trust me. Trust me. Trust me was always the answer. Just trust me. I've got your back. Nothing is a surprise to me. And when I personalize the me, meaning that's the message from God, um, I do remember, and this recently came up toward the end of my treatments when I was holding my son in his final days, not knowing exactly when. And I thought, God, I would do anything. I would let it be my heart that's broken, which, yes, I did get that. I live with that broken heart. A broken heart has more space in it. A broken heart gives you in time with your own grief and all of that to work through for yourself. You have compassion, you have empathy, you have understanding for um, a different kind of pain. And then moving forward, I remember saying these things, thinking, what is the other worst thing? Cancer.
Mhm.
I'd take cancer to trade my life for my son. Just that feeling of knowing that I'd want to give my life to save a life made me realize, isn't that what Jesus Christ did for me? That feeling became very personal then for me. And I realized this is why, how much God loves me, that he gave his son for me, because I know what it feels like to not have a choice. And he
Mm.
chose that. He chose that for me. And I said recently to someone, like I was sharing this story and I said, I I wanted cancer. I'll take it. And I smile right now thinking God was saying to me, well, that's coming, Karen. That's
Mm.
coming. And I don't see that as a punishment. I see that as he's smiling down at me, going, yep, and I'm going to take you through that storm too. When you go through the storms and you know you're not alone, you can face the next storm
Mm.
and just get even stronger because of it. It took me down. I flatlined a couple of times. I had to get a couple of blood transfusions. My blood work tanked. And even my nurse said, did you drive here? I said, yeah, I'm not far. I wasn't far from my treatment center. She said, you are not driving home. Not like
Mhm.
this. And my oncologist came in, they looked at the blood work and they're like, oh, how are you sitting up?
Yeah.
And I've had a few incidences like that I can appreciate, saying, God, thank you. I don't know either. I didn't feel necessarily that I was that tanked through the process, but they wouldn't. Once I got an infusion, a blood transfusion, then they gave me the chemo the following week. So I had to have a couple of
Mm.
intercessions there just to level up a little
Get re
bit.
yeah, get rebooted. Stan,
Get
when
rebooted.
I had kind of lost, this is a cool thing about social media and Facebook and things of that nature. I had lost touch because we moved, from Glenview, Park Ridge area out to Barrington probably almost 35 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
So, because my oldest is turning 30 here at the end of the month, so we were a couple years before that. But via social media and just connecting the dots, I started seeing Karen doing her yoga stuff, and I was like, "Holy cow, that's like legit professional, um, like
Yeah.
die hard, all in on yoga." Which was interesting to me from the standpoint of when I see like longevity, it's not always the jogger or the weightlifter or whatever, but these yoga folks, which I'll tell you my yoga story here in a second, they live till they're like 150. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they live these long and blessed lives. So when I saw her, doing all these different poses and promoting the studio, and then hearing that she came down with cancer, I'm like, well, here's a strong spirited person and a strong physical person. I pray and hope she will make it. Because my one time in yoga, I think I told you this, Karen, was I did hot yoga in Florida and I almost died because it was me, my friend Rich, and like
Yep.
50 ladies. And it was like
Yep.
whatever the temperature they turned that thing up to, I
Yep.
literally was seeing spots. I'd never done it. That's my one and only yoga experience. But how did you get into yoga and how has that helped, whether it's in life or in this battle that you're fighting now with cancer? How has that helped and what's the What's the allure of yoga?
Yeah, great question. So at the time, living in Florida, and my daughter was away at college. My older two were just kind of aging up, and I thought I grew up in Morton Grove, right in the Midwest, living in Florida. I said, I think it's time for me to get a hobby, little something more. I saw back then in the newspaper days when you didn't have your phone or, the internet to look things up, that there was a women's bowling alley or a women's bowling league forming at the one I mean, who has a bowling alley? There's one right across A1A, right across the ocean in my area. That was really probably more there for tourists than anything. But I thought, I'm signing up. I always loved to bowl. I used to have my name carved out on a little blue sparkly bowling ball fitted to my hand. I'm going. I'm driving down this same main road to get to the oceanside part of our town. And I always saw this strip center under construction, and it had this backwards three on it or some kind of symbol that I thought, what is that? What is that over there? And saw it again as I was driving out. I get to the bowling alley and it's locked. I thought, oh, I have the wrong day or the wrong time to sign up for this bowling league. I'm a little bit frustrated. I head back on the one main road from the ocean back inland, past the strip center. And I noticed because I'm on the same side of the strip centers, I'm driving back, there's a sign that says hot yoga today, free hot yoga today. And I laughed out loud because, like you, I'm in Florida going, hot yoga in Florida. So that's a yoga studio that's being, built. And the door was open. I was just in a mood. So I walked in and I thought, I had some preconceived ideas about what I might see or might not. And I figured, well, I can just walk right out if I
Were you in your
wanted to.
bowling? Were you in your bowling outfit at this
I, wa-
point?
I wasn't in the bowling outfit. Yeah, I know that would have been even more funny. But I walked in and I saw a really nice group of people in there. They welcomed me, kind of gave me a little walkthrough of the space. And I returned the next day to attend my very first hot yoga class in Florida.
Hmm.
I never left. I stayed in it. Now, back up prior, I had been like a fitness class teacher, aerobic dance, step aerobics. I had been always doing something like that. I was a cheerleader in junior high, high school, and college. So tumbling and just staying active and moving was my thing, and I never had yoga on my radar, but this had a grip on me. And I'll tell you, I got in there doing this hot yoga. It had 26 basic poses, doing it every day, all day, the same practice, the same series of poses. And I found that I just had a natural ability to enjoy it. I was relatively strong and flexible already. And from there decided, why does this keep calling me back? Why do I feel a calling to understand this more? Meanwhile, my dad in the back of my he's like, is that a cult? What are you doing? Is that a cult? My old world Italian dad, worried, that I'm gonna go to hell because I'm practicing yoga. And so I think I had this critical thinking mindset about, I want to know, what is it about it that seems to have a grip on me? So I entered a bunch of different trainings, thankfully in Florida and the location where I was. I really got to have the influence of some really profoundly amazing yoga instructors, internationally renowned,
Mm.
and had the experiences to train with them and kind of sit at their feet and understand, as well as read. And I got my message Bible from Eugene Peterson to cross reference things because I really felt there's something about the mind, body, and spirit that you can't understand without God, the creator of who I am. And that's how I approached it. So infusing God and the spirit of the living God within me, and how pleased he is that I am using this equipment, the divine equipment that he's given me to use in such a way that I can understand the breathing patterns, the movement. I've had the privilege of training people and working with people with Parkinson's. I've trained a blind woman to become a yoga instructor. And when you work with people who are compromised and see how breathing and moving and just awakening the body in different ways than our traditional vertical, we sit perpendicular, we lie down, we're either standing, sitting, or sleeping, lying down. And yeah, we could cycle, we can run, but yoga gets your head below your heart, your foot above your head. It causes an awakening in the body, mind, and spirit in a different way. I I have I have been able to witness some really incredible, beautiful experiences with the humans that I've been able to work with, and just breathing, full deep breath in, just taking full breaths in and out. What that does on the cellular level is amazing for our bodies. We're made to do that.
Yeah, oxygen. Stan just did was that last summer, Stan, you did the oxygen tank?
Yeah, it was little longer than that, but yeah, I did
Ah,
the
Stan.
hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was cool. It was cool.
good.
Um,
I'm 15 years younger now because of it.
Yeah, I figured it. Yeah, it should have given you years back in your life. That's awesome.
It did.
no,
Good.
well, it's interesting because Stan's owned gyms in the past, and obviously we're all athletes to some degree, here today talking. But
Yeah,
I always the weights and the different workouts and the different practices always have intrigued me. And why yoga is unique to me is you don't need anything except your body and a piece
right,
of floor.
right.
So, when Stan he moved to Austin to open a bunch of gyms and had
Yeah,
a bunch of gyms, which again is big overhead. And certainly there's health benefits in all these activities. But
sure.
my new saying that I've been teasing folks with, and I didn't create it, I stole it from somebody, but it's motion is lotion. And as we age, right, the just moving, getting up and about really gets all that thing, the oxygen, the blood flowing, the lactic acid, all that stuff kind of broken up.
Yep.
And that's why we see, I think, when you go to Europe, if you've ever traveled over there, you
Yeah,
got 70, 80, 90-year-olds hiking every day, like
every
in
day.
the Alps and in the
Yeah,
mountains. And you're like,
yeah,
how are they doing it? They're just moving. They just never
yeah.
stopped.
Those
So that's a
blue
tough
zones
thing.
all
So
over the world. Yeah, I
I
Well,
know.
think I think
my
that has
mom
helped.
turns 92 years old today,
Oh,
and
happy birthday
and
to your
she's
mom.
doing unbelievably well.
I love
And that's
that.
her secret is she tries to get in her 10,000 steps every day,
Oh, good for her.
up and
Oh,
down stairs. And yeah, she's doing amazing. So
well,
Well,
I love that. I have a private client that I see at her home. She's suffered eye loss due to glaucoma, 89. Chair yoga, we call it chair yoga, bed yoga, sink yoga. She's on her chair doing poses. We lay down on the bed with a hard surface and a mat over it, and she can do stretching that way. We get up at the kitchen sink. She can grab onto the edge the way that her island is in her kitchen to just get these good full body stretches through her spine. It's the best thing. And I will tell you, after a practice with Miss Diane, her eyesight, she can see the a little bit more contrast between the black and white. It's like you just
wow.
oxygenate, move the blood, and move the body a little bit, and her vision just has that little bit of improvement.
hmm.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, and I know, thank you again for joining us today, Karen. I mean, because
Yeah.
what you've been through is amazing. But I do want to touch for a couple minutes on YouTube because when I was doing a little prep and research and just kind of stuff around preparing for our episode,
Yeah.
I went back and I looked at your social media stuff and saw the YouTube channel. So you were doing that for a long while. was that the reason we created our channel was kind of just a creative outlet for us during COVID. And then just for me, selfishly, it's a time to catch up with old friends like you or meet new people. It's kind of,
Yeah,
there's really nowhere
sure.
in between. But tell us about your YouTube journey. Then we'll touch on the cars and we'll wrap up with some words of wisdom here in a second.
Well, you kind of hit on it. The YouTube journey for me did open up during COVID, where I thought, all right, it's a good way to put a couple of little practices out there so people can practice at home. At the time, I had a pending couple of yoga retreats. One I had just gotten back from right before the world shut down in Costa Rica, and another one on the books planned for Panama. So I just opened up a presence on YouTube to just keep fluid with my own practitioners and those that were following me through whether it's training or just in a yoga journey with me. So that was the purpose of it, and I need to get in there and probably revisit it now and see what I can do with another chapter in my life.
Yeah. Well, your story, I think, is inspiring and certainly would be something that others could probably relate to. And you've been telling us these stories, and you've had this giant smile on your face the entire time, in spite of the things that you've gone through. So you've got my respect.
I appreciate that. It's like I am just so happy to be alive. I tell my friends now, I'm like, I'm vertical. I've got ground cover. When you're bald and really sick for a while, almost a year's worth of time, everything is everything is great. Everything is, yeah.
Carl and I don't like talking about hair loss either, for different reasons.
All
But
right,
Yeah.
all right. I hear you.
Well,
I see you.
it it's funny,
let's
Karen, because we Stan and I talk about like different strategies on how to go viral and who should we interview and the format of like we had a coach just what Stan was at a week or two ago where literally we thought we made this really catchy intro and outro thing and he's like, here, look at the people who look at your videos, they fall after 5 seconds because we spend 5 or 10 seconds doing the intro and people are like, they don't even get past that. And I'm like, they're missing some amazing things first and foremost, because your story and your journey inspires or will inspire people and helps people. It's helped me. But so I'm looking at your top viewed video, which has over 18,000 views, which is not chump change. And it's
Oh,
literally 2 minutes and 51 seconds long. And it's how to do a pose.
yeah.
And Stan and I spend an hour or half an hour having these things, and you just did these clean, simple little things. How to. So that's one of our strategies that we've talked about is how to do so and so. And
Right.
our background is automotive and advertising, so we're doing more of that stuff. But anyway, let's talk about
All right.
cars.
Yeah. All right. So this is the point in what drives you when we ask three rapid fire questions. Are you ready, Karen?
I'm ready.
All right. What was your first car that you ever had?
Oh gosh. A sparkly blue Chevy Impala station wagon.
Wow.
N-
That's a
19,
first.
1976, 77, 76 or 77. Big. Yeah, a boat.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. What has been your favorite vehicle that you've ever owned?
Oh, no question. My Hummer, my H3. Oh, 2006. I
Nice.
rocked that. Queen of the road. I loved it.
That's a
Nice.
good one.
Okay. If there was no budgetary concerns, what would be your dream vehicle?
Mm. Well, I do always eye the Jaguar F-Pace with a certain, configuration because they've got a great red. I do like the Mercedes GLC coupe. So maybe the coupe. Maybe I pick the coupe.
All right. Great
Yeah,
answers.
Well,
yeah.
cool. We try and wrap these episodes with some words of wisdom. Not that we haven't had a bunch of words of wisdom and optimism and gratefulness and Stan said, it is kind of funny and not funny, haha, but to see the gratitude on your face as you talk through these tragic situations and hard situations. I
Thank you.
I, I hope to have that same spirit every day. Yeah, me too. But what would Karen of today, like 18, 17-year-old Karen, to know about that you know now that you didn't know then? Those are words of wisdom. Try and share with some folks.
Ah, always choose faith over fear. Always choose faith over fear. You win every time. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Ooh,
Yeah, faith
That's a
over
good one.
fear. Yeah,
That's a good one.
nice.
That's
yeah.
like a
Well, Karen,
T-shirt. We could make a T-shirt out of that.
Faith over fear. Yeah, like the salt life. Yeah.
there you go. Well, Karen, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and for sharing your stories. I know that they're not necessarily easy stories to maybe talk about and relive, but I think it's been an inspiration for those that are going to be watching this. So we really appreciate you and wish you well in the rest of your recovery.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe we'll
Thank you
have you
so
back
much.
on when all the hair's back and
When
you can
it's
share.
all back, wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, then I can, really kind of shuffle it around like that.
There you go. There you go. Well, we appreciate you.
So good
Carl,
to be
always
here.
good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Stan.
Um,
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you,
both.
everybody, very much for joining us on this edition of What Drives You. And as we always like to say, remember, be good humans to each other. We'll see you next time.